talk and then discussion. So if you want to find a comfortable seat, get cozy. There's extra cushions and stuff, so feel free to truly make yourself as comfortable as you need. And today we're going to be exploring how mindfulness and compassion can help us relate to the many parts of ourselves, especially the ones we might usually avoid or criticize or try to fix. So we want to take this time to arrive into our bodies, arrive into the space. I invite you to close your eyes or have a soft gaze on the floor if that feels better. We want to sit upright but at ease. And we'll be taking time to settle through a brief body scan and then exploring parts through our practice and practicing giving ourselves compassion. The meditation will begin and end at the sound of the bell. Let's take collectively a deep breath together. Inhale and exhale. Taking this time to breathe full, deep belly breaths. Let's take another one. Exhaling out anything that happened before this very moment. Breathing this way, slowly setting down whatever you came into this space with. It could be work stuff or relationship stuff or stuff. And just letting the exhale sort of act as a release. And as you let your breath find its natural rhythm, moving in and out, let's do a brief body scan, beginning with the top of the head, releasing any tension here from the scalp, your eyes, temples, your jaw. Let the tongue fall from the roof of your mouth. Moving down your neck, maybe do a couple neck rolls or shoulder rolls if it feels good. Easing the tension, letting the shoulders fall away from the ears. Opening and expanding our chest, feeling the breath fill our lungs, into our belly, and as we exhale, feeling ourselves move more deeply into the present moment in our bodies. Continue to let this ease find itself moving down into your legs and into your seat as you feel grounded and held by the cushion or chair. We'll start off with opening our awareness to any inner voices or sensations that might be present. Maybe there's a part that's already starting to judge, or a part that's tired or maybe curious. We're not trying to change or fix it. Just, oh, I see you judging part. Softening a little around that and welcoming it. And as we move through this exploration of the parts that might be coming up, let's find one that maybe is talking louder than the others right now. And we'll be working with this part for the remainder of the meditation. I ask you to take a small assessment. We don't need to carry the heaviest thing right now. So if something is feeling a little too overwhelming to hold, maybe choose something else. And as the thoughts arise from that part, we're going to practice offering it some phrases. May this part be safe. May this part be at ease. May this part feel held with kindness and compassion. May this part be safe. May this part be at ease. May this part feel held with kindness and compassion. And if you find yourself feeling averse to sitting with these parts, that's totally okay and normal. Take stock of where your edge may be today. If sitting with your parts feels like too much, don't push it. We don't need to strive for anything. We can always just return to our breath. Or as an anchor, you can use phrases towards yourself like, may I be safe, may I be at ease, may I be held with kindness and compassion. It's a bit of a choose your own adventure. But I do invite you to be a bit curious and continue to sit with whatever is arising. Be open to it, meet it with kindness and compassion. May this part be safe. May this part be at ease. May this part feel held with kindness and compassion. And as we practice, we might discover that the part that we thought was our enemy in some way, the inner critic or the anxious planner, maybe a part that's trying to numb out, was only trying to help us get through this moment or this day or the event that might be coming to mind. And as we continue to remain open and curious, I invite you to explore a little more that when that part comes to mind, notice what sensations are arising in your body. Notice the sensation as the part makes itself known, the sensation as you meet it with kindness, and any sensations that come after the fact. What does it feel like in our bodies to be met with kindness, where typically there may be aversion or control? May this part be safe. May this part be at ease. May this part feel held with kindness and compassion. May this part be safe. May this part be at ease. May this part feel held with kindness and compassion. I'd like to give you a few minutes to practice with this. So we'll spend the next few minutes in silence. The meditation will end at the sound of the bell. Begin to come back to this space. Hopefully we're all feeling a little more regulated. So as I had mentioned, today's talk is going to be on getting to know our parts with compassion. We're going to continue on in this multiplicity within parts work through the lens of Buddhist practice. Last week, Andrew introduced us to mental factors and exploring how parts show up and a bit of internal family systems. And this week, we're going to dive into befriending our protectors or our parts with compassion. The parts of us that try to keep us safe through control or avoidance, perfectionism or shutting down. And in Buddhism, we might understand this through a thing called karuna, which means compassion, and upekkha, which means equanimity, or the ability to hold all of our experiences with steadiness and care. And we've explored this in the past when we did our heart series, the Brahma Viharas, but we're going to be applying these practices, the heart practices, specifically to parts, especially the parts that may seem unlovable or undeserving, and that can be challenging. We're whole beings, so the sum of all of our parts, not just the ones we like or don't like. And as a teacher that I admire, Lamarad Owen, says, tenderness is a form of resistance. So we're going to resist together. So what we'll be exploring is, what does it mean to befriend our protectors? Is it compassion or is it false safety? and then talking about how we take these practices into everyday life. So when we talk about befriending protectors, we mean learning to relate to the parts of ourselves that guard our vulnerability. And these protectors often carry the burden of, it's always on when I don't want it to be. These parts carry the burden of repeated trauma or unhealed emotional patterns or coping behaviors. And all of those things helped us in difficult circumstances. But they might show up in ways that no longer serve us, in ways like perfectionism. If I do everything right, then I can avoid that thing in the future that I don't want to happen. I can avoid disappointment or rejection. It can show up as reactivity, so a level of like defensiveness to guard ourselves from being vulnerable or being close to an emotional experience. It can show up as avoidance. I don't want to deal with this at all. Not now. No thanks. Maybe not ever, preferably. Or it can look like control, my personal favorite. If I can control this thing enough, I can predict whatever future outcome will happen. Or numbness, just a complete dissociation, also a close friend of mine. But each of those things are preventing us from feeling pain, from feeling suffering. And in Buddhism, this aligns with seeing all mental states as conditioned phenomena, meaning these feelings are arising from a cause and a condition, not from our essential self. So like my therapist likes to say, like there's big O, like my big self, and then like little o, like the parts of me that show up. And so these conditioned phenomena are not things that like come from myself, right? I don't think any of us really came into this world being like, I really hope I'm anxious for the next like 30 years. So they're not a cause and a condition of myself entirely, but they are things that my mind have created to protect me. So what befriending our protectors are not is it's not indulging the part or letting it take over. So it's not being kind and compassionate to it to the place where it becomes the decision maker. It's not saying like, oh, you're scared, you should probably be doing this thing, and letting it direct our choices and actions. It is also not bypassing the pain or pretending everything is fine. So I think when I first started practicing meditation and learning about Buddhism, like the rosy, like kind, compassion, care, it just like all felt very like toxic positivity. And that's not what it is. It's not saying that the pain doesn't exist, but it's coming to a place where we can be balanced and wise in understanding that every part, even the difficult ones, the ones that I maybe don't want to get close to or I don't want to associate myself with, come from a place of care, not from harm. Those parts are there because they cared enough for me to try to protect me in some way or keep me safe. And so that's what we're going to be working with. I've been exploring parts work a lot personally in therapy. Well, I say a lot, not terribly deep, but it comes up kind of often. And it's provided me with a lot of insight. I'm not completely healed, even though I end every session saying like, are we good now? Like, are we good to go? I don't have it all figured out by any means, but remaining like curious and open to sort of exploring my experiences has helped me see where in moments of tension or anxiety, when I'm triggered, that often it's not the thing in front of me, it's not the person, it's not the experience, but it's like little O, like little Olivia showing up, trying to protect me from the harm or suffering that is sort of arising. And it's helped me decenter myself in those moments where this isn't personal. This isn't about like what is happening right here. This is coming from a place of patterns and coping and, perceived safety. And that's what's actually arising. And so being able to approach parts of my life being like, oh, I see what's happening. I can name what's occurring right now. It doesn't mean that I don't have big emotions. It doesn't mean that I respond perfect in every way, but starting to recognize the pattern or the things or the parts of myself that are showing up has meant that I can have a different relationship to experiences and people in my life. And ultimately to myself, that like even recognizing the part that's coming up is an act of compassion in and of itself. Like, I see you. I see little Olivia just like trying to get by. One of my favorite teachers, Joanna Hardy, says, compassion is not fixing, it's the willingness to stay. So if you've ever had like a close friend or family member who's maybe been experiencing something difficult before, and just being with them, not trying to like provide a resolution or what can I do to fix it, just like sitting with someone's vulnerability. Yeah. So if you've ever had a friend or family member who's experienced something big, and they're having a lot of emotion. Oh, I'm sorry. Joanna Hardy, compassion is not fixing, it's the willingness to stay. Another teacher of mine, Bhikkhu Analio, says mindfulness establishes intimacy with experience, not distance from it. So mindfulness, this practice, this thing that we're learning, allows us to be more intimate with our experiences rather than getting rid of them or having them go away. And so as I was exploring this topic, something that came up for me was like, is it compassion or is it a false sense of safety? Because for me, the line can be like blurry there. Am I being kind, or am I just like pretending and letting this like part dictate what might feel safe in this moment? And so why is that hard? And, how can we find the difference between the two? So often our protectors equate control with safety. So the parts coming up, they're like, if I do X, Y, or Z, then I will be safe. I've figured it out. I've got the, magic formulation. We just do whatever, I have perceived as safe, then we'll be safe. And so when I was young, safety meant having information. So I lost my father when I was young. I was 6 years old. And so for me, it was like, I need to know where you are. I need to know what environment we're in or where you're going or what's happening. So the idea that if I knew, it meant that I could prepare. The way I lost my father was quite unexpected. So it was like information I didn't have. And so after the fact, it was like, let's get more information then, because then we'll be prepared. And that made me feel safe in the moment, which I'm thankful for. It was me trying to create an environment where I could feel safe amongst chaos in which I did not. But as an adult, the need for information is more of a false sense of safety, because I know no matter how much I control or how much information I get, that I don't know the outcome of the rest of my life. Ugh. And it's the worst thing in the world. Like, I wish. And so being able to understand and see that is what we're practicing with. True compassion, on the other hand, allows us to feel safe enough to see clarity even when it's uncomfortable. So the false sense of safety is like a hazy fog that's like, ooh, isn't this like nice and cozy? And true compassion is being able to see that it's messy and it's uncomfortable and to have a clear view of it without completely falling apart. So having awareness to know that my mind is searching for safety allows me to actually find true safety in the present moment awareness. So being present in what's coming up right now as it is allows me to meet those parts with more authenticity, as opposed to pretending that part never existed. I don't know who that person is, not me. We're just going to pretend that you're not sitting right here on my shoulder in the corner of my mind at all times. It's an illusion. It's not making me any more aligned with myself, my big O, Olivia self, my full self, because you're there, you exist, that part of me. And so the radical compassion needed to, true compassion is radical in the sense that we're not avoiding, we're not judging, we're not resenting ourselves for what might be happening or what might be coming up. And that's a cycle that I've been in for most of my adult life. And so I think, being able to see that I'm no more safe now than I was then allows me to feel safer in the present moment, because what was happening when I was moving through my parts was not safety. And I'd rather feel more aligned with my whole self. Ralph De La Rosa, who wrote the book that we're reflecting on in this series, he says, mindfulness practices help hold protectors without being swept away by them, while self-compassion acts as a healing force. The idea is when protectors are met instead of pushed away, they can relax. They don't need to work so hard. And some of their energy can be redirected towards wholeness. So now when I recognize that like little me, little Olivia is feeling unsafe, adult Olivia can turn to her and accept, yeah, I'm scared right now, or fear is coming up, or I'm anxious, and offer that compassion. I see you. And I feel like this doesn't always, the act of caring and true compassion doesn't always look like, oh, I'm going to give this part a warm hug. Sometimes it's a lot, and it can be incredibly difficult when you have multiple experiences happening at the same time, or it's uncomfortable work to sit with ourselves as we are, or what might be arising. But that doesn't mean the work isn't worth it, and that being present and trying and remaining open and curious are acts of compassion, even if they don't look like the big, boisterous acts of compassion that we might think of when we think of kindness and caring acts towards ourselves. And so we can ask ourselves as a reflection, is this action rooted in freedom or fear? Compassion moves us towards connection. False safety keeps us stuck in avoidance. Lamarad Owen says, healing asks us to risk our comfort for our wholeness. And Bhikkhu Analayo says, equanimity is the protection of the heart amid changing conditions. So equanimity, being able to sit with whatever is arising with a steadiness and care. So let's bring these practices into everyday life. When a difficult thought or emotion arises on the cushion, we note it, right? I'm activated, or that's what we practice with today. What is arising? Okay, I see that. A protector is trying to help me. And we can sit with that. I see you. I note that thought. It's there. And today we offered it some meta phrases. May this part be safe. May this part be at ease. May it be held with kindness and compassion. And we stayed with the sensations in the breath. So parts coming up, accepting it, meeting it with compassion. Taking that off the cushion, though, out of our practice of being here and sitting still in a cozy space with some tea. In daily life, we can pause. We can notice reactivity and ask it, is this coming from some place in me? Is a part being activated or triggered right now? It doesn't mean we won't have emotions. It doesn't mean that there won't be big feelings. But taking a moment to pause and see, where's the root of that feeling? Is something coming up in me? And rather than judging or suppressing, we can greet it with the mindfulness. Can I be here with it? Can I name it out loud? And compassion and equanimity grow through repetition. So each moment of turning towards instead of away builds trust within ourselves. I'm going to end this with some legendary words from Alanis Morissette, where she talked about her parts. I'm a bitch, I'm a lover, I'm a child, I'm a mother, I'm a sinner, I'm a saint. I do not feel ashamed, okay? So we're not ashamed of our parts. We learn this from Alanis and the Buddha. So each of us hold many parts in conclusion: protectors, exiles, everything in between. And through mindfulness and loving kindness, we can learn to meet them with all the warmth instead of activation. This is the essence of compassion practice, to include even the parts that we once thought unlovable. And this week, notice when familiar parts arise. The inner critic, the planner, like my favorite little part, my little planner, the pleaser, and maybe we practice pausing, breathing, and saying, may this part be safe. May this part be at ease. May this part feel held in kindness and compassion. And let's begin to watch how even small gestures of friendliness and kindness towards ourselves can begin to transform the relationship to it.